In the last few weeks, I was rewatching South Park, and I found something insane. There are a few episodes that have been completely removed from the internet, but after hundreds of hours of researching, I have managed to find all of them. And when I found out why they're hiding these episodes from you, it's way darker than you think. Back in 2001, South Park aired an episode called Super Best Friends. The plot was simple. Stan has to fight off this magician David Blaine who's running a cult. So he recruits this superhero team made up of religious figures.
Dude, we have to do something. This guy's performing more miracles in Denver tonight. He's gonna get more followers and it will be impossible for me to get Kyle out.
Then let's go.
We're talking Jesus with laser vision, Buddha with meditation powers, Krishna doing his thing, and Muhammad. Yeah, Muhammad was literally a superhero in this episode, shooting fire from his hands and saving the day alongside Jesus. And here's the crazy part. Nobody cared. Like, at all. The episode aired on Comedy Central. People watched it. Maybe some religious groups sent some angry letters, but life went on. For 5 whole years, this episode with Muhammad as a literal superhero was just sitting there in South Park's catalog, airing in reruns, available on DVD, and nobody said a word. You could watch Muhammad fight evil alongside Jesus Christ and Moses, and the world didn't end. No riots, no death threats, no international incidents, nothing. So if nobody cared about Muhammad being in South Park for 5 whole years, what suddenly changed in 2006? 2 words: Danish cartoons. In September 2005, this newspaper in Denmark, called Jyllands-Posten, published 12 editorial cartoons of Muhammad. Most people had never heard of this newspaper. Most people didn't even know what the cartoons looked like, but it triggered massive riots across the world. We're talking about over 200 people dead, embassies burned, entire cities shut down over some drawings in a newspaper. The whole planet went insane over cartoons that 99% of people never even saw. But the message was clear. Depicting Muhammad anywhere, for any reason, was now a death sentence. Suddenly, depicting Muhammad anywhere became this third rail that nobody wanted to touch. And that retroactively made Super Best Friends dangerous, even though it had been harmless for years, even though Muhammad was portrayed positively as a literal superhero saving the world. But South Park's creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they don't back down from anything. They've built their entire career on being equal opportunity offenders, and what they did next is where things got really dark. And just wait until you hear about the episode where they literally censored the moral of the story itself, the Cartoon Wars. So in 2006, right in the middle of this Danish cartoon chaos, South Park decides to do what South Park does best. They made 2 episodes directly making fun of the controversy. Cartoon Wars Part 1 and 2, and the plot was absolutely genius. Cartman tries to get Family Guy canceled by convincing everyone that Family Guy is about to show Muhammad uncensored in an upcoming episode.
Come on, Muhammad, let's get some tea.
Which will cause riots and violence and get people killed. So Cartman goes on this crusade to save the world by getting Family Guy off the air before they can show Muhammad. But here's where it gets meta. As part of their satire about censorship and free speech, Parker and Stone plan to actually show Muhammad themselves in Part 2. Uncensored. No black bars, no bleeps, no pixelation, nothing. They were going to make their point about free speech by actually doing the thing everyone was too scared to do. Comedy Central said absolutely not. But that black bar was nothing compared to what happened when they tried to bring Muhammad back 4 years later. They put a big black censored bar over Muhammad and refused to show him at all. And this proves the exact point the episode was trying to make, that corporate fear trumps everything, even when the whole point of the episode is to criticize that exact fear. Think about how insane that is. South Park made an episode about how censoring Muhammad is stupid and cowardly, and Comedy Central responded by censoring Muhammad in that exact episode. The network literally became the villain of their own show's story. Parker and Stone were furious. They'd been building up to this moment where they'd show that depicting Muhammad isn't the end of the world, that giving in to threats just empowers more threats, and their own network cut the legs out from under them. But the Cartoon Wars episodes were just the warm-up act, because what happened in 2010 with the 200th episode is where this story gets absolutely terrifying. South Park's 200th episode. This was supposed to be this massive celebration where all the celebrities that South Park had mocked over the years, Tom Cruise, Barbra Streisand, Kanye West, everyone, come back to the town of South Park seeking revenge.
I've just been slandered once again in the town of South Park.
And their plan? They want to capture Muhammad because they think he has some magical goo that makes him immune to ridicule. Like, the joke is that Muhammad is the only person South Park has never been able to make fun of, so all these celebrities want his power. The episode aired on April 14, 2010, and within hours everything changed forever. Because what happened next turned South Park from a cartoon into a legitimate national security issue. And I'm not exaggerating. The death threats. This Islamic extremist group called Revolution Muslim issued death threats against Parker and Stone. And we're not talking about angry tweets here. These were explicit, detailed threats referencing real murders, with real addresses, telling Parker and Stone they could end up dead. They specifically mentioned Theo van Gogh, this Dutch filmmaker who was shot 8 times and then stabbed to death in broad daylight in Amsterdam in 2004 for making a film critical of Islam. The message was clear: we know where you live, we know what happens to people who mock Islam, and you could be next. Security around Comedy Central's headquarters got ramped up to insane levels. This wasn't just internet trolling. The FBI took these threats seriously. These were credible threats of actual violence against American citizens for making a cartoon. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. They didn't just censor Muhammad in the follow-up episode. Episode 200 aired a week later, and Comedy Central didn't just put a black bar over Muhammad. They censored Kyle's final speech. You know Kyle Broflovsky, the voice of reason, the kid who always delivers the moral lesson at the end of the episode. His entire speech about not giving in to intimidation and threats of violence got bleeped out, not because it mentioned Muhammad, not because it mentioned Islam, not because it was offensive to anyone. It was literally just about not letting threats of violence control what you can and can't say in America. The speech was Kyle explaining that if we let people silence us with threats of violence, then violence becomes the only power that matters in society. Basic stuff about free speech and not negotiating with terrorists. And Comedy Central bleeped the entire thing. They censored the anti-censorship message. Kyle was basically giving a speech about why censorship is dangerous, and they censored it, proving his exact point in real time. And this reveals something terrifying about how our media actually works. Parker and Stone released this furious statement afterwards, basically saying Comedy Central had betrayed everything the show stood for. They were livid that their own network had censored their message about not giving in to censorship. But here's what really happened. Comedy Central got scared. Not of the government, not of the FCC, not of advertisers. They got scared of Islamic extremists who were threatening to murder their employees. And you know what? That's understandable. Nobody wants to get their people killed over a cartoon. But by giving in to those threats, they taught every extremist group in the world a very important lesson. If you threaten enough violence, you can control what gets shown on American television. Kyle's speech was about exactly this, that once you give terrorists veto power over your content, you've lost everything that makes free speech meaningful. And Comedy Central proved him right by censoring him. But these aren't the only episodes they're hiding from you. Because there's one episode that didn't just get banned, it got an entire country to ban all of South Park forever. And the reason why will make you question everything you know about American media. The global bans. Fast forward to 2019. South Park releases Banned in China. This brutal satire of how American companies bend over backwards to avoid offending the Chinese government so they can access that sweet, sweet Chinese market money. The episode has Randy start a band and try to get famous in China, but he gets thrown in a Chinese prison where he meets Winnie the Pooh, who's been imprisoned because internet memes kept comparing him to President Xi Jinping.
People said Pooh looked like the Chinese president, so we're illegal in China now.
Meanwhile, the episode shows how Disney and the NBA changed their content to avoid offending Chinese censors. The response was immediate and total. China didn't just ban the episode, they scrubbed all South Park content from their internet. Every episode, every clip, every mention of the show, gone, wiped from existence. This is the only episode that was actually banned by a government in response to its content, and it happened instantly, proving that South Park was 100% right about Chinese censorship. But China isn't the only country hiding South Park episodes from their people. Israel banned episodes with Holocaust references. Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride got banned for a throwaway Holocaust joke. And Pink Eye got banned because Cartman dresses as Hitler and talks about how cool the Nazis were. Japan has banned like 8 different episodes. Shin-Pokémon got banned for Pearl Harbor references and making fun of Emperor Hirohito. Multiple episodes got banned just for having Christian themes, because apparently Christianity is controversial in Japan. Australia initially banned Bloody Mary because it showed a statue of the Virgin Mary bleeding, which Catholics found offensive. They eventually aired it in 2016, but only after years of petitions. Costa Rica banned Rainforest Schmainforest for years because it made fun of their environmental policies and portrayed Costa Ricans as backwards. Hungary and Romania temporarily banned Jubilee over anti-Semitism concerns. These aren't conspiracy theories, these are documented government actions against specific episodes. But here's the thing that's going to mess with your head. And there's one early episode that was censored for a reason that'll blow your mind. An elephant makes love to a pig from way back in season 1, episode 5. This episode got censored not because of politics or religion, but because there's a scene where Stan's abusive older sister Shelley literally sets him on fire. Comedy Central cut that scene from all future airings, because in 1993 a 5-year-old kid in Ohio died in a house fire after copying a scene from Beavis and Butthead, where they played with fire and said fire is cool. So they censored South Park to prevent copycat behavior that could literally kill children. And you know what? That's actually reasonable. That's responsible use of censorship, protecting kids from imitating dangerous behavior they see on TV. But here's the key difference. This episode is still available everywhere. You can stream it on HBO Max, buy it on DVD, watch it on the official South Park website. They just edited out the dangerous part. It wasn't banned, it was responsibly edited to remove content that could get kids killed. That's what actual responsible censorship looks like. But that's not what happened with the Muhammad episodes. Because the creators of South Park have been fighting this battle for over 20 years, and what they said about it will change how you see everything about American media. The real truth. Here's what's actually happening with the South Park episodes. The government is hiding from you. The government isn't hiding jack shit. Comedy Central is hiding them. HBO Max is hiding them. Paramount Plus is hiding them. These are corporate decisions made by executives who are terrified of violence and bad PR. The US government has never banned a South Park episode. The FCC has never fined Comedy Central over South Park content. There's no secret government list of forbidden episodes. What there is a bunch of corporate executives who decided it's easier to quietly remove controversial content than deal with potential threats, lawsuits, or bad publicity. And the proof is in what happened after each controversy. Think about the timeline here. Super Best Friends aired in 2001 with zero problems. The government didn't care. The FCC didn't care. Religious groups sent some angry letters, but nobody tried to ban it. For 5 years you could watch Muhammad fight crime alongside Jesus, and America didn't collapse. But in 2010, after the death threats over the 220N episodes, Comedy Central retroactively pulled Super Best Friends from streaming and syndication. The episode became dangerous, not because the content changed, but because the world around it changed. And Comedy Central decided it was easier to just memory hole the evidence than deal with potential problems. Look at the pattern. Cartoon Wars episodes still censored on DVD with big black bars over Muhammad, even though you're buying it to watch in your own home. The 220N episodes heavily censored on the US DVD release, and completely removed from UK and Australian releases. Try to stream Super Best Friends anywhere right now. Netflix? Nope. Hulu? Nope. HBO Max? Nope. Paramount Plus? Nope. The official South Park website that has every other episode for free? Nope. A 20-year-old episode about religious superheroes saving the world has been completely erased from legal viewing options, not by government censorship, but by corporate cowardice. And this reveals something terrifying about how our media actually works. The real story here isn't government censorship, it's corporate self-censorship. These episodes prove that in America, you don't need government censors when corporations will censor themselves at the first sign of trouble. Nobody forced Comedy Central to censor Kyle's speech in episode 201. There was no FCC rule against it, no law being broken. Comedy Central chose to censor a message about not giving in to censorship because they were scared of Islamic extremists. And that's actually way more dangerous than government censorship, because at least with government censorship, you know who's making the decision and you can fight it in court. You can vote the censors out of office. You have constitutional protections. But when corporations self-censor out of fear, there's no transparency, no appeals process, no accountability. They just quietly remove stuff and hope nobody notices. And if you complain, they can just say it's their private property and they can do whatever they want with it. The most messed up part, Kyle Broflovsky was absolutely right. By censoring his speech about not giving in to intimidation, Comedy Central proved that threats of violence work better than laws, better than protests, better than anything else. They taught every extremist group in the world that if you threaten enough violence, you can control what gets shown on American television. And these banned episodes are proof that corporate America will fold like a house of cards the moment someone threatens their employees. Parker and Stone have been saying this for years. The only power that really works is the power to threaten violence. Everything else is just noise. And these banned episodes are living proof that they're absolutely right. If you enjoyed this video and want to see 7 South Park business ideas that can make you a millionaire, click the video on the screen now.